Have you ever wondered what it would be like to have the most overpowered melee weapon from the start of the game? Well, look no further, as today I show you if it is possible to beat Fallout 4 with only Atoms Judgement. As a zealot? As Atoms Judgement? Well, I'll say it here. I don't really know what the title of this video is going to be, as I haven't decided yet, but this was planned as an Atoms Judgement run, so it most likely turn out to be that. Well, you've clicked on the video, so surely you know. I began in Sanctuary, as by this point I had somehow lost my Vault exit save, but that not being all bad, conversing with the Vault Tech rep, I quite rightfully called myself Atom Smasher, for a reason you'll find out shortly, and then assigning my stats, putting a 9 into Strength, as it is a melee weapon build, putting a 3 in Perception for the added VATS effect, with a 6 in Endurance, as for the weapon I'll have to be venturing out far to Far Harbour, and with the game recommending you be at least level 20, I saw this as non-negotiable, and finally splitting the last 8 between Intelligence and Agility, for more XP and AP respectively. The rest then played out like normal, with one thing that surprised me. As you probably know, Codsworth has a load of different names he will actually say, and what I did not expect is for Atom to be one. I just thought that was noteworthy. Anyways, back on track, the world ended, and we became frozen TV dinners once again. My husband was then shot, my son kidnapped, and I was released back into the mortal plane. The vault was nothing out of the ordinary, except I had a ridiculously hard time trying to lock off and hide from the roaches. I'll chalk that up to my 8 months off playing the game. Exiting the vault, I had my destination set, so I began running. There's not much to say about this, except I just ran, only dying to some stingwings once on my way over there. Eventually making it to the Nakano residence, I searched around for reasons why their daughter had run away, while stealing everything I came across. Relaying the information to them that their daughter had in fact run away, they tasked me with saving her, of which I never did, but for now, they let me use their boat and I went off to Far Harbour. Reaching the town of Sea Lovers, I levelled up twice, putting the points into Toughness and Life Giver, as I was going to need them due to the wilderness of Far Harbour, not giving me a free pass on my way to my destination. And being greeted by a synth and a racist, the town then came under attack. However, due to my lack of damage output, I took a seat and waited patiently for the attack to cease. Afterward, I looted everything of the fallen settlers, buying up some cage armour off Alan for some added protection, and some healing supplies off the town doctor. I may or may not have just realised that I may have neglected to say where I'm going, and that is the Children of Atom's home and the nucleus. As you probably guessed, is going to be where I'm going to get Atom's Judgement from. So that's where I've been heading. The trip being nothing out of the ordinary, despite me being scared for my life all the way there. I greeted Grand Zealot Richter, him telling me if I wanted to get in, I needed a drink from an irradiated spring, so naturally that is what I did. Going on an acid trip, I followed a ghostly woman to a holy site. Those of you who know this quest know that there is many a ghoul hanging around outside, so I won't waste your time, as I just started inside, shut the door, and thankfully these ghouls do not know how to use their thumbs, so crouching down until I was hidden, I got the code for the terminal, opened the gate, grabbed the mother icon, which would grant me entrance to the nucleus, opened the door, and narrowly escaped the grasp of the ghouls, fast travelling back to the nucleus, giving the mother idol to Richter. He then granted me entry into the nucleus, and I got the ball rolling to obtain my holy weapon. I spoke with Richter one more time, him tasking me to track down a runaway zealot. However, for some reason, after this, I decided I was going to go talk to Tectus. I can assume my thinking was that he was going to give me something worthwhile. He in fact did not, but all it had me do was run down to the bottom of the sub, talk to a child of Atom, which I took way too long trying to save scam a speech check. I then went back to the confessor, where he gave me the Inquisitor's helm, which was decent as it gave more intelligence on rads, but realistically was not worth it. I then finally got down to the namesake of the run. Sure, it sure did take me long enough. My task from Richter had me run to a church, not 5 yards down the road, convince a runaway child to leave the island, return to Richter, and he gifted me the most powerful melee weapon to my knowledge in the game, Atoms Judgement, doing a base damage of 91 on 120 radiation damage on top of the 100 you get from the legendary effect. It's definitely a very good weapon to say the least, and by now, having points in Little League and Rooted, I had already a great base build for it. Returning to the Commonwealth, I travelled up to Concord to try out my new toy, and it was as powerful as described. All the low level raiders going down in one hit, the same with the ones inside the museum. Skipping ahead a little, I went back outside, having some fun with the Deathclaw. As Atoms Judgement could do some decent damage, that was not a problem. Rather, my problem was the abysmal damage resistance I had, despite my armour. Finding a bug that I hadn't had the pleasure of coming across before, with VATS locking in, taking my AP, but not attacking, which was great. My first encounter with the Deathclaw, then ending abruptly, as he threw a truck at me. Having another go of things, I decided to play it tactically, dunking in and out of the nearby building to where the Deathclaw pops his head out, taking shots in VATS. When it decided to work, ducking back in. Regaining my AP, I kept doing this until he came tumbling down, and then finishing off the nearby raiders, I gave my support to Preston and headed off down the road. Now here is where I went into a little bit of a tangent, as while I was recording this run, the next gen update for Fallout 4 came out, so I decided I had to go on a couple quests, which were in Cambridge, so they were on my way to Diamond City anyway, so I thought why not. Firstly going after an Enclave quest, which just had me going back and forth grabbing notes, so I gave up with that one pretty quickly. Moving on to an actually new quest rather than just free Creation Club content, but it was practically a CC quest in its own right, having me check a terminal, smash my way through some raiders and some reskinned triggermen, just to read some more. They did however show me one of the new weapons, the grenade launcher, as well as some piggy bank mines, which looked quite nice, and then was shown by my quest marker there were some dudes on a rooftop, where I found yet another weapon, the piggy bank launcher, which was just a mod for the mini nuke launcher, but interesting nonetheless, as there were mines and a launcher. It could be a possible run, who knows. Sorry for that tangent, but I thought I might as well have a little go at the new content, and I'll give a resounding meh to it, as it was pretty bland, unless you're happy with the weapons, in which case you should be alright. But going back on track, I went on my way up to Diamond City, clearing out Hangman's Alley on my way there, just for the hell of it. Also because I really enjoyed the overpoweredness of Atoms Judgement. One thing I think is worth saying is I met a raider whom survived a fucking VATS attack, instant kill to the skull. How the hell they did this? I can't hazard a guess, but luckily they weren't a tank and went down to the next shot. I then entered Diamond City after giving a Piper most likely crippling back pain for the rest of her life, going up into the Colonial Tap House to get Diamond City Blues underway. I saw Paul and Cook throw hands, spoke with Paul, went back inside, gave them both a boink on the head, stole Cook's note, and went to do the drug bust myself. With this, I focused the triggermen with the submachine guns, then beating Nelson and Trish's skulls in and yoinking Nelson's money along with all the chems.
Money! 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 Money!
As when I had said I was going to do a drug bust, I meant for my own personal gain. Now for some reason I decided I was going to go back to Far Harbour. Yes, this is quite abrupt. It's just because I got in my head I needed the children at Atoms Marine Armour, and my main reason for doing the Diamond City Blues quest was to buy some, which it turns out I could not do as the merchant in the nucleus didn't sell it all. But I was not going to leave Far Harbour until I got some. So exiting back out the nucleus, I slapped around the two guards outside. But this not giving me all the pieces, and I couldn't leave the set unfinished. So I went back into the base, luckily the children not being hostile to me. Yet. I hopped and I skipped my way into the sub, where I found Rector conveniently sleeping. So cementing my distance from this chapter of the Children of Atom, I killed him, in one tap. Grabbed his armour, and dipped, making sure to kill High Confessor Tectus, so I could be the new one. Equipping my new armour and helm, I went back to the Commonwealth to begin my plans. First sparring was with Sun in Diamond City for some stim packs, this being where all my drugs came in handy. Now heading for Park Street Station, I just had to test my mallet out on Swan, as it's a good gauge for how powerful the weapon really is, and I'll let the footage speak for itself. Yeah, as you can see, me wiping the floor with Swan in 10 seconds. I don't quite think I'm going to have any problems with killing any of my enemies from this point forward. For now, deciding to bypass Park Street Station for the moment, running around the corner, marking good springs.
Ow! 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 What the hell is wrong with you?
Making sure to slap Finn on the head, and then continued on to the Old North Church, where I put in the code of the people stupid enough to make it their name, and I responded exactly how someone should do, on sight, focusing my gaze on Gloria as she could actually deal some damage to me with her minigun. Then going for Desdemona, Drummer Boy and Deacon. Taking a pause for the moment, here is where I found another bug with the weapon, as it kept up as the hammer, where you get a finisher when performing VATS, remains frozen until I hit escape, for some reason. Why this is happening I haven't a clue, but for now, if you see me standing there for no reason, that's why. Heading deeper into the hideout, I finished them off with Tinker Tom and Dr. Carrington, and then taking out Pam for good measure. There is no real reason why I did this. I just had the sudden urge after killing Swan, chuck it up to the masochist inside me, and the fact that I really wanted to see just how good Atoms Judgement was. Finally, I headed into Park Street Station. The triggermen were nothing to write home about. I just ran around, giving them all a bunk on the head. Even Dino going down in one hit, which realistically shouldn't surprise me considering my performance with Swan. I grabbed Nick, we dipped, cutting down Skinny on our way out. Conversing with Nicholas, I agreed to meet him in Diamond City, and that is what I did, going through all the rigmarole to get Captain Cornflake's house open, searching it and heading off to the fort. Nothing notable happened on my march over there, except the fact that I forgot to give Dogmeat a sniff. So going back, giving him a whiff of the good shit, I ventured inside the fort, and I won't act like this was some hard encounter, as it wasn't, with the weapon being more overpowered than I could even imagine at this point, and listen to the get my armor was also stacked, so the simps didn't stand a chance. I did find a problem with their armor rotation attacks, but that was just more annoying, so thank you Bethesda for the pain of melee combat. Anyways, segueing downwards, I reached Mr. Flakes, and let's not beat around the bush, I eviscerated him, with one thwack to the cranium, him going down just like that, ripping his brains out. I saw the Brotherhood arrive, took a quick jaunt through Kellogg's memories, and I was off to see Virgil in the glowing sea. Getting a fair way into the glowing sea, heading for both Virgil and my people in the crater of Atoms, but on my way I came across one of those newly fangled Enclave bases, so in I went. After being exploded once by a Tesla cannon, they locked the door on me, which had them trapped in there with me. I immediately began smashing, making light work of the power armor wielding soldiers, beating up my way through the base, going up to the roof. I walloped some big boys with the sheer might of Atom, yoinked their Tesla cannon, and dipped out to the crater, where I was followed by a vertibird. Thinking the children would help me, they did not, just eating the minigun bullets apparently. So waiting for the troops to jump, I pounced on them, all while they lit me up with their incinerators. But through trial and death, I was eventually able to crack them, and the vertibird retreated. Here I picked up some new armour, while also marking the crater as my new home, which I'll be back to later. Speaking with Virgil, he told me of the toaster I needed to grab, first making a pit stop up at Concord to grab the power armour on top of the Museum of Freedom, then at Sanctuary, swap the armour out for the Hellfire set I just grabbed, to give it a test run. But I will be reverting back to the lack of power armour after, but I just wanted to give it a test. Instead of now heading off to Green Tech, I thought I should foment my access into the Institute. Instead of helping out the settlers at 10 Pines Bluff, gave them a good bonking, as I was not about to help the Minutemen. After, I went off to Green Tech to catch me a toaster. And to save repeating myself for the millionth time, I would just say the power armor very good, Atoms Judgement very good, Corsa very dead. Ripping the chip from its lifeless husk, I decoded it with the help of Tinker Tom's ghost, got the schematics from Virgil, with the use of the Minutemen, slapped the teleporter down, and I was in the Institute. And unless you haven't realised with my lack of care for any other faction, I will be siding with the Institute. You may rightfully wonder why I'm doing so, considering the whole Child of Atom thing, in a cleanly irradiated space. Ew. But my intentions will become clear soon, don't you worry. For now I spoke with Father, gave him my support, met up with all the bigwigs, and was tasked with collecting Jared from the Fortilla. And I did this quite simply, meeting up with X6 on the beach, climbed up the side of the boat using the rope, Luckily, I might add, clapping the nuke-wielding raider on first contact, getting inside the boat, where X6 told me the recall code for the synth, which I promptly ignored, doing something I did not know was possible, as I killed Jared. I always thought that it was not possible for some reason, but I guess X6 was always just too fast with the code. With that aside, there was barely any changes other than some altered dialogue, which had no effect, much like the next thing I was about to do, as Father tasked me with collecting some more synths from Bunker Hill. This is what Bethesda calls a variety. Greeting the courser, I let myself into Bunker Hill, caving the skulls in of anyone who got in my way. This continued into the bunker itself, as I slapped up the railroad and the Brotherhood. Even the courser got in on the fun, picking up the minigun a Brotherhood knight had dropped. Reaching the simps, I gave them all a good whack on the head, including the courser, leaving no one the winner in this situation. Here is where we get at what I mentioned earlier with Jared. Despite some altered dialogue about Father's displeasure at my actions, he couldn't give less of a shit. Well done, Bethesda. Here's to hoping Fallout 5 has some good dialogue and story. Please Lord. But my plan of sabotaging the Institute had gone well, but it had to be put on hold for now, as it was mass fusion time, teleporting over there, and found a fun gimmick of Atoms Judgement, I think anyway, because of the sheer amount of radiation damage it does. It caused the fusion cores on the power armor to explode, and the Brotherhood soldiers found out firsthand that it fucking exploded and sent them into the roof. Then grabbing the keycard, I took my long elevator ride down, eventually me and Ali arriving in the basement. I grabbed the beryllium agitator, with no plan on taking any right away, but needs outweigh the belief, so I had to take some before I combusted. The Securitron was no joke, being mega powerful, and just kidding, he fell in one goddamn shot, with the Assaultrons at least taking two. Like, for goodness sake, that damn Raider 4 pages ago survived the mallet to the skull, like, damn. Returning to the Institute, I was tasked with grabbing Wallace. I then spoke into the microphone, slammed some buttons into places, set up the reactor, and I was off to purge the middlemen from the wasteland. For Atom, not for Father, as much as they thought it was for them. And as much as you would think that the Brotherhood would be a bother, with their overwhelming firepower and everything, they put up very little resistance. I was able to take out all the generators with little hassle, and all the simps were able to and swarmed all the soldiers. And due to my might, instead of just protecting the simp who was uploading the virus to Liberty Prime, I actively went after the remaining Brotherhood on the ground, where I put down Dance and Dickhead and every other Brotherhood member I could find. Sadly, Maxon not showing his face, but hopefully he went down with the ship. As the simp finished up the upload, I was teleported to safety, and the Brotherhood went to the Great Atom in the sky for their judgment. Watching Father die, my quest for Atom was not over. It was now time to rid the filthy heretics of their lives. As I clattered all the remaining simps and scientists in the Institute, them kindly all making their way into one stairwell, and I brought down their judgment, as my name implied. I then retired to my new home in the crater of Atom, where I could be one with him, knowing all his enemies had been vanquished. And I can now say, yes you can indeed beat Fallout 4 as Atom's Judgement. I'm sure I'm probably just going to call this Atom's Judgement, but it was symbolically a Child of Atom run, as it progressed. I do hope you enjoyed this video. It was a fun one to make considering the overpowered nature of the weapon. I do hope to make videos on less powerful weapons so there's actually more of a challenge in the future, to bring the maximum amount of pain for me, but the pleasure for you the viewer, whom I am indebted to. Thank you for watching. If you made it this far, and you have any suggestions for future runs, make sure to leave them in the comment section below. And feel free to like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.